Okay, welcome to MBA 507 YouTube, where we go over we do the solutions to the assignments for the end of the chapter. So, beginning with the review question 9-1, define the term cost of capital. Okay, the cost of capital is the rate of return that the firm must earn on its investments in order to satisfy the required rates of return of all the firm's sources of financing, including creditors who loan the firm monies, that be the people who invest in their bonds, or banks that loan them money, and the owners who purchase shares of stock in the company. This rate is a function of the required rates of return for all the firm's sources of financing, the corporation's tax rate, and the flotation costs incurred in issuing new securities. Therefore, the cost of capital determines the rate of return that must be achieved on the company's investments to earn the target return of the firm's investors. 9-3, review question 9-3. Why do firms calculate their weighted average costs of capital? Two objectives may be given for determining a company's cost of capital. First, the financial objective of management is to maximize the shareholders' wealth. We can increase the value of the common stock by lowering the firm's cost of capital. All else remains the same. As the cost of capital decreases, the value of the firm increases. Secondly, the cost of capital is used as the minimum acceptable rate of return for capital investments. The value of the firm is maximized by accepting all projects where the net present value is positive when discounted at the firm's cost of capital. Okay? The investments return more than it costs to finance the projects or investments. 9-4, I review question 9-4. In computing the cost of capital, which sources of capital should be considered? All types of capital, including debt, preferred stock, and common stock, should be incorporated into the cost of capital computation, with the relative importance of a particular source being based on the percentage of financing it provides. The firm should be aware of the approximate cost of different types of capital in case a source of funds not currently used is less expensive than the existing sources of capital. When rates are low, you reissue your bonds, or if you have callable bonds, you call them preferred stock that it's paying a 7% dividend. If interest rates go down, you don't have to meet the market rate of 7%. You can reissue, you can call the preferred in and issue 5% or 4% dividend on par for preferred stock. 9-5, review question 9-5. I keep on doing that. Okay. How does a firm tax rate affect its cost of capital? What is the effect of the flotation costs associated with a new security issue on a firm's weighted average cost of capital? The effect of taxes on the firm's cost of capital is observed in computing the cost of debt. Because the interest is tax deductible, it's a tax deductible expense, the use of debt decreases the firm's taxes compared to the use of equity. Dividend payments are not deductible for income tax purposes, nor are they deductible for financial statement purposes, for that matter. Therefore, we compute the cost of debt on an after-tax basis. In completing a security offering, investment bankers and other involved individuals receive a commission for their services and for the expenses of issuing a new security. As a result, the amount of capital raised, net of these flotation costs, is less than the funds invested by the individuals purchasing the securities. Consequently, the firm must earn more than the investor's required rate of return to compensate for this leakage of capital, the amount of capital that is non-productive because it has to cover the flotation costs. You're going to issue a $10 million worth of bonds, you may only have net proceeds of $9,975,000 because $25,000 goes into flotation costs for printing the bonds and paying the commissions of the brokers who distribute and sell the bonds. Review question 9-7. What might we expect to see in practice regarding the relative cost of different sources of capital? As discussed in Chapter 6, if you remember back that far, the investor's required rate of return increases as additional risk is expected. Comparing historical pre-tax returns, the observed rate of return on debt are less than those of equity. On average, equity is a riskier investment. Risk and return is one of our fundamentals of finance, if you remember Chapter 1. Given that interest expense is tax deductible, whereas dividends are not, there's usually a cost advantage to issuing debt. Between types of equity, preferred stock usually carries a lower required rate of return compared to common equity due to the protection provided to preferred shareholders within the preferred stock. Dividends must be paid before any common stock dividends are paid. They also have a preference in the liquidation of assets in the event of a liquidation. So they have less risk than the common shareholders, so they accept a lower they have a lower required rate of return than common shareholders. Hence, a common equity carries a greater level of risk and usually has a higher required rate of return. Okay, study problems. Let me get a tablet over here. Nope. Okay, let me pause and get a tablet. Hold on. New handle. Okay, now I have to get a pen, a writing instrument. Let's see if I can do it. Maybe this will work. Okay, what do we have here? Study problem 9-2. Individual or component of cost of capital, compute the cost of the following, and they give us an E. So A is a bond has a $1,000 par value face, and the contract or coupon interest rate of 9%. A new issue would have a flotation cost of 5% of the $1,100 market value. So the market value is $1,100. The bond is selling above face value. It's selling at a premium. So we know that the rate on that bond is higher than the market rate of interest. The bond matures in 10 years. The firm's average tax rate is 30%, and its marginal tax rate is 21%. Okay, so we have to figure the net price after flotation costs here, huh? Net price. Okay. So 9-2. So we say net price after flotation cost would be equal to the $1,100 market price of the bonds. Right on there a little bit better. Maybe you get some glitter. Hold it lower. Okay, and then we have to multiply that by 1 minus the flotation costs. And that means out of the $1,100 market value of the bonds, the company is going to receive $1,045. Okay. So now we can take that $1,045 and put it in the formula. Now we put $90, which is the interest, 9% interest on a $1,000 bond over 1 plus required cost of capital plus $1,000 over 1 plus the cost of capital, subscript B. This would be to the first power, and the other one would be to the 10th power. Okay, so we figured out the net proceeds when we sell the bond in the marketplace for $1,100. It's $1,000 face value, but the flotation costs are 5%, so we get 95% of that. $1,100 comes out to $1,045. So we get $1,045, and we equal that to the sum of that squiggly thing makes the sum of the annual interest payments, okay, plus the maturity value of the bond, with K sub B being the cost of capital that we're solving for. Then the after tax cost of debt, well, solving for K subscript B, if you do that math, it comes out to 8.32%. So then we need to take that after-tax cost So we take the K subscript B, the cost of capital, times 1 minus the tax rate. And we're going to use their average tax rate. So there's the formula there. Cost of capital equals what? As we figured it out above. Multiply that by 1 minus 0.3 average tax rate. And that tells us that the cost of capital after tax and flotation costs are considered. And I'm out of ink. There's the cost of capital we figured out above, and then take that 1 minus the average tax rate of 30%, and that means the net of the cost of capital of 8.32, net of the tax effect, brings it down to an effective rate of 5.82. Okay, I'm going to put you on hold again until I get a better ink pen. Hold on, please. Okay, part B. Study problem 9-2, part B. A new common stock issue that pays $1.80 dividend last year. The par value of the stock is $15. The earnings per share has grown at the rate of 7% per year. This growth rate is expected to continue into the foreseeable future. The company maintains a constant dividend earning ratio of 30%. The price of this stock is now $27.50, but 5% flotation costs as a percent of market price are anticipated. Okay, so the cost of capital on common stock, the cost K is the cost of capital and common stock subscript, new common stock, NCS subscript, equals dividend 1 over the net present value plus the growth rate. Okay. Yeah, maybe it's better off without that. No glare. All right, so now we got to plug in the numbers. The dividend is $1.80. And we have to adjust that for the 7% growth rate. So 1 plus 0.07. Divided by the market price of $27.50 less the flotation cost plus the growth rate. Okay, so we have to take the dividend of $1.80, extend it out for the growth rate, 7% per year. And we take the market value of the stock at the current time frame, and we reduce that for its 5% flotation cost. That's 1 minus 0.05. I'm sorry, I didn't write that out very well. And then we have to add in the growth rate. Do the math, and we get 0.147 as 37 or 14.37%. Part C. Internal common equity. When the current market price of the common stock is $43, the expected dividend this coming year should be $3.50, increasing thereafter at 7% annual growth rate. The corporation's tax rate is 21%. So again, the cost of capital on the common stock is equal to the dividend in period 1 over the price, market price, plus the growth rate. Okay, so there's the formula. Cost of capital on common stock is the dividend divided by the market price plus the growth rate. So it says the dividend is $3.50. The market price is $43, and the growth rate is 7%. Do the math, and we get 0.1514 or 15.14%. Whoops. Part D. Preferred stock paying 9% dividend on $150 par value. If a new issue is offered, flotation cost will be 12%, and the current price is $175. So the cost of capital of preferred stock is the dividend over the current market price of the stock. So the dividend is 9% times the par value of 150. Okay, there's the formula. Cost of preferred stock is dividends over the market value. And there's the dividends, 9% of the par value of the stock, 150. Now the current selling price is $175. And flotation costs are 12%. So we take $175, but our proceeds from that $175 market price are going to be reduced by 12%. So it's 1 minus 0.12, or we get 88% of the 175 are the proceeds that the company receives. They sell the stock is sold for $175, but they only get $154. So let me do the math here. The dividend will be $13.50. And the proceeds from the sale of one share will be $154. There's the dividends, $13.50. That's the 9% of the $150. And $175 selling price less 1 minus the flotation cost of 0.12, 12%, is $154. Now we just divide numerator by the denominator, and we get 9.48%. Excuse me. Part E. This is study problem 9-2. Part E. A bond selling to yield 12% after flotation costs, but before adjusting for the marginal corporate tax rate of 21%. In other words, 12% is the rate that equates the net proceeds from the bond with the present value of the future cash flows, principals, and interest. Okay. So the cost of capital of the bond, that would be K subscript B, equals the after-tax cost of debt security or the bond is K subscript B. Let me get this over. The cost of capital on the bond is 1 minus the tax rate. Okay. Right here. They tell us the bond is sold to issue 12%. So we'll put that down as 0.12. And then all we have to do is modify that for 1 minus the tax rate of 21%, or 0.21. 1 minus the tax rate of 0.21, 21%. And plug those in your calculator, and you'll get 9.48% as the cost of capital. Okay, 9.3. Study problem 9.3. The cost of equity. In the spring of 2018, the Brill Corporation was involved in issuing new common stock at a market price of $35. The dividends last year were $1.50 and are expected to grow at an annual rate of 8% forever. Flotation costs will be 6% of market price. What is Brill's cost of equity or cost of capital for equity of the new stock issue? Okay, so cost of capital of the new common stock issue is the dividends over the market price, current market price, plus the growth rate. There's the formula. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Some numbers in there. Well, let's put some numbers in. 50, but they're expected to grow at the rate of 8%, so it's 1 plus 0.8 plus the growth rate of 0.08. And the market price is $35, but the company has a flotation cost of 6%. Okay, so here's the dividend of $1.50. It's going to grow at the rate of 8%. Here are the proceeds, the market selling price, but we have a flotation cost of 6%, so it's 1 minus 0.06 or 94% of that. And then we've got to add in the growth rate. So we got the numbers in. All we have to do is plug them into our calculator and hit the equal sign, and we will get 0.1292 or 12.92%. Okay, and 9.4. Study problem 9-4. What do we have here? One partner. Cost of debt, cost of selling bonds. Caraway Seed Company is issuing a $1,000 par value bond that pays 7% annual interest and matures in 15 years. The investors are willing to pay $850 for the bond. So the market rate of interest is greater than 7%. Flotation cost will be 3% of market value. So the company Caraway Seed is not going to realize that $850 for every bond it sells. It's going to only get 97% of that, or 1 minus 0.03%. Well, not percent, 1 minus 0.03, which is 3%. The company is in a 21% marginal tax bracket. What will the firm's after-tax cost of debt on the bond? Okay, so $850 is the proceeds on the bond times 1 minus 0.03. Make that point a little bit bigger. Okay, and that's 97%. That means the company gets $824.50 for each bond it sells. Net price proceeds on sale of bond. Okay. 7%, 97% of $850 means the company is only going to get $824.50 for every $850 that is the bond sells for. And don't forget, in 15 years, they're going to have to pay the bondholder $1,000, the maturity value of the bond. So now we can take that $824.50, which are the net proceeds, and using our statistical calculator, get the sum of the 15 annual interest payments and the present value of the 15 annual interest payments and the added to the present value of the $1,000 maturity value, because that's what the bondholders are going to get. Let me get this down, and then 1 plus K on the bond to the first plus $1,000 maturity value over 1 plus cost of capital to the 15th power. Okay, $70 is the annual interest the bond pays. The bond has a face value of $1,000 and it's a 7% bond. Okay, so we got to get the present value of 15 payments of $70 while the I just got a message, my connection is unstable. Please wait while we're trying to reconnect. So I don't know if this is going to show up or not. Okay, so we have $70 divided by the 1 plus the cost of capital, and then the maturity value of the bond would be $1,000 divided by the cost of capital, 1 plus the cost of capital to the 15th power, because it's 15 years. So we're discounting that $1,000 back to get the net present value, and we're going to add this computation gets the present value of 15 payments of $70 annual interest payment. Okay, so that tells us the cost of capital on the bond is 9.2%. I put 9.20 because I like to write 2 decimals because I'm always dealing with dollars and cents. But it's 0.92%. Now we have to reduce that by the tax, okay, effect. After tax cost of bond. Okay, so 9.2%. And our tax rate, it says, is 21%. So we go 1 minus 0.21. And that works out to 7.27%. Okay, I guess I'll have to play this back before I mail it out to you guys. And I think that's it. Yeah. I didn't see any more here. Okay. Because I'm getting that little message in the upper corner. So I get to spend an extra half hour seeing if the thing is in its entirety.